Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to do my review of Friday Night Smackdown. Starting off tonight, we have John Cena. John Cena comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone, but he's quickly interrupted by Randy Orton. Orton comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. He talks about the history that he's had with John over the 25 years. Orton says that people looked up to Cena. Orton tells John that he needs to be a father. The crowd reacts to that. John says that he doesn't have to be a father because for the past 25 years, he's raised Orton's kids. John then mocks the fans. Orton says that the fans are why John is in WWE in the position that he's in. Orton says that he's here to stay, while John Cena is a guest. John says that he never needed the fans. Orton tells John that he can't destroy wrestling. Orton says he wants a title shot tonight against John Cena for the Universal title, but John tells Orton no. After that, it pretty much seems like it will be John Cena versus Randy Orton at Backlash for the Universal title. John then attacks Orton, but then John goes to hit Orton with the title, but Orton hits an RKO. Now, with that being said, that match will actually take place. It will main event WWE's Backlash in St. Louis. It will be John Cena defending the Universal title against pretty much the hometown guy, Randy Orton, in the main event of this year's Backlash. Definitely looking forward to that. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of the night. It is Fraxium making their Smackdown debut against Los Garza. I thought it was a great match, man. Back and forth matchup between Fraxium and Los Garza, with Fraxium keeping the pace of the match. Frazier then hits a running shooting star press in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Axiom and then Angel both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Axiom hitting a Spanish fly off the top rope. Frazier then hits a Phoenix splash off the top rope, pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Fraxium. Hats off to Fraxium for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. Tiffany talks about her match against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, but she's quickly interrupted by none other than Jade Cargill. Cargill comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone, and says that she's here to be a world champion, and Jade says that she is the best. Tiffany Stratton tells Jade to prove it, and we pretty much get an impromptu matchup here between Jade Cargill against Tiffany Stratton. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Cargill and Stratton, with Stratton keeping the pace of the match. Stratton then hits a handspring back elbow on Cargill in the corner. Jade and Tiffany Stratton both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Jade hitting a power bomb for a near fall. Naomi is here. Naomi then attacks Jade. The match ends in a disqualification, but Nia Jax comes out of nowhere and attacks Tiffany Stratton. Looks like Nia Jax has some unfinished business with Tiffany Stratton. Moving on from that, we have Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu comes out to the ring with the U.S. title that he just beat LA Knight for. But he's also out there with Solo Sikoa. Solo says that Fatu is the future. Solo also says that nobody wanted Fatu in the WWE. Solo then says that he made Fatu. Fatu then stops Solo. Fatu says that he won the title with or without Solo. Fatu then says Solo needs to step up and get in line, but they're interrupted by LA Knight. Knight comes out to the ring. He talks about WrestleMania. Knight said he wants a rematch against Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title. But after that, they're interrupted by Drew McIntyre. McIntyre comes out to the ring. He talks about WrestleMania and the match that he had with Damian Priest. McIntyre then mocks John Cena. McIntyre says that he wants to face Jacob Fatu. McIntyre then mocks LA Knight. After that, Aldis is here. Aldis said that he had enough of them pretty much arguing back and forth. And Aldis announces that it will be LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre for the number 1 contendership for the U.S. title later on that night. Speaking of the U.S. title, we have a women's U.S. title match. It is Zelina Vega taking on Chelsea Green. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Vega and Green, with Vega keeping the pace of the match. Alba Fire and Piper Niven attack Vega. Green then hits an enziguri on Zelina Vega. Referee ends up throwing out Alba Fire and Niven. They're out of the match. Vega then capitalizes on this by hitting a code red on Chelsea Green. Pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new Women's U.S. Champion is Zelina Vega. Hats off to Zelina Vega for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have The Miz. The Miz comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. He talks about WrestleMania. He mocks Cody Rhodes. Miz says that he is one of the best to ever do it, and no one can beat him in the ring. After that, the lights go out. And all of a sudden, we hear Aleister Black's music hits. He finally returns to SmackDown. Aleister Black comes out to the ring. He gets face-to-face with The Miz. Then all of a sudden, Miz then goes to attack Aleister Black. But Aleister then hits a black mass on The Miz, leaving The Miz pretty much knocked out in the middle of the ring. Moving on from that, we have the number one contendership for the U.S. title matchup. It is LA Knight taking on Drew McIntyre. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Knight and McIntyre, with Knight and McIntyre both exchanging in the middle of the ring. McIntyre was keeping the pace, or trying to keep the pace of the match. Solo then attacks LA Knight ringside. Referee doesn't see it, but Damian Priest attacks McIntyre. Referee ends up seeing it. The match gets thrown out. Priest then hits a chokeslam on McIntyre, sending McIntyre through the announce table on the outside. Fatu is here. Fatu ends up attacking LA Knight and Damian Priest, with Fatu hitting his signature moonsault on LA Knight as well as Damian Priest. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of SmackDown. It is the Motor City Machine Guns taking on the Street Profits against the DIY in a TLC match for the WWE Tag Team titles. I thought this was a great match, by the way. Back and forth matchup with all teams involved, with Street Profits keeping the pace of the match. Montez hits a blockbuster on Ciampa to the outside. Montez then hits Gargano with a prosthetic fake leg. The crowd erupts after that. Chris Sabin then hits a splash on Dawkins through a table on the outside. Montez then hits a senton to the outside on Ciampa through a table, which looked absolutely brutal. After that, Ciampa then gets up, hits a white noise off the apron on Montez Ford, landing on a ladder. The Motor City Machine Guns then hit a skull and bones on Gargano through a table on the outside. Dawkins then hits a spear on Ciampa, sending both Dawkins and Ciampa through a table. Montez then climbs a ladder, grabs the titles, and your winner of the match, or winners of the match, are the Street Profits. Hats off to the Street Profits for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about quickly, man, before I get out of here as far as SmackDown is concerned. Do I think the Raw after Mania was better than SmackDown after Mania? Yeah, I think Raw was definitely the better show out of the two. But with that being said, it wasn't a bad show. I mean, obviously the main vocal point was the return of Aleister Black, which I kind of want to talk about. Obviously, if you guys have, followed Aleister Black's career, obviously he's been a part of WWE. He was a part of NXT. Really made a name for himself in NXT and got called up to the main roster. Didn't last that long, and obviously he went on to AEW, where he turned into Malachi Black and had a decent career, I guess, if you want to call it that, in AEW. But he finally returned to SmackDown on Friday night, ended up attacking The Miz with a black mass. I mean, to be honest with you, man, this is kind of what I said about other people that have left AEW that were former WWE talents. I mean, obviously some of these talents were not being utilized in AEW. That's just the way it is. That's the nature of the beast at this point. And Aleister Black was one of those guys that really was not being utilized correctly in AEW. For what it's worth, that entire stable really wasn't being really utilized for what I thought it was, going to be, with, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, as well as Julia Hart. I still believe Julia Hart probably benefited the most out of that stable than Brody King and Aleister Black and Buddy Matthews, but I feel like Tony Khan really didn't have an idea of where he wanted to take the House of Black, so, it kind of fell flat. But with Aleister returning to, WWE, I think sky's the limit for Aleister, to be honest with you. I'm happy he returned with his own, the old school theme that he had when he was in WWE, the old school, the way the stage structure was set up for him, where he kind of like rises up and stuff like that, the old school Aleister Black that we all knew of. It was great to see that, back in WWE, and they didn't change much for Aleister Black. But it's great to see him back in WWE, to be honest with you, man. I think there's a match scheduled between him and The Miz next week. It's pretty much a warm-up match for Aleister Black, which I'm all for it. But there's a lot of matches on the table for Aleister Black in SmackDown, or on SmackDown. I'm not against it. I even mentioned matches with him and Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu would also be a really good matchup down the line. Solo Sikoa. I mean, there's a lot of matches on the table for Aleister Black. We can also see a rematch between Aleister Black and Cody Rhodes. That's also something that's a possibility as well. There's a lot of matches on the table. Aleister Black versus Roman Reigns. So we'll see what happens with Aleister Black. I think he was one of the main vocal points of SmackDown on Friday. obviously with the return of him coming back to SmackDown. So I was all for it, man. And hopefully, sky's the limit for him, because honestly, for what it's worth, everybody that's returned back to WWE or is going to WWE from AEW, it's really benefited them a lot. You look at someone like Cody Rhodes or a Jade Cargill or a Penta or a Rey Fenix. I mean, Penta's done great since he's been in WWE, to be honest with you. I think he's, again, sky's the limit for Penta. Rey Fenix just got started in WWE, so he's got a lot of time to develop in WWE. So we're gonna see how it happens and how see what plays out. But it's great to see Aleister Black back in WWE. We also had Zelina Vega. She wins her first, I believe it was her first singles title in WWE since she's been with WWE, becoming the U.S. Women's Champion. I thought that was a great moment for Zelina. So it's great to see that. I think besides, and then we saw LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre, which I thought was a good match. I was kind of, let down that it wasn't, a clean finish, but I get why they're doing it. It looks like there's going to be like a fatal four-way matchup here for Jacob Fatu U.S. title, which most likely will take place at Backlash. So if I had to predict, I think it's going to be Fatu defending that title against Priest, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre in a fatal four-way matchup at Backlash this year, which again will be a really good match. We also have, again, the main event with the TLC match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. I thought it was a great match. For what it's worth, I thought that match was 100 times better than what we got between the New Day and the War Raiders. That New Day and War Raiders matchup could have easily been on Raw after Mania. There's no build towards that match. It was very lackadaisical. There really wasn't a lot of build. New Day, the whole situation with them kind of fell flat, which I mentioned, a week or two ago. But then we get this matchup here on SmackDown, and it was an incredible match. I think that match, they should have swapped those matches and had this TLC match a part of WrestleMania this year, rather than just having it on SmackDown. But I thought it was an incredible match. I thought it was a great tag team matchup. And for what it's worth, I mean, WWE kind of takes a little bit of, criticism on their tag team division, whether it be on Raw or SmackDown. For what I saw on SmackDown this past Friday night, I mean, I thought it was great. I think the tag team division is not that bad off, to be honest with you. SmackDown also had the addition of Fraxium, former NXT Tag Team Champions, and I'm going to tell you right now, man, Nathan Frazier and Axiom, that's a strong-ass tag team. It's a very strong tag team, and those guys take it to the max every time those guys step in the ring. They're a phenomenal tag team, and honestly, a really good addition for the SmackDown roster, to be honest with you. So, I know some people have even mentioned about a possibility of WWE doing another draft. I don't know if that's going to happen. I haven't heard anything about that yet. Usually they do a draft, usually around this time, around April or May. So we'll see if there is a draft. I haven't heard anything yet. Am I opposed of it? No, I'm not. I mean, obviously, people are going to shake things up. I don't think there's going to be, even if there was a draft, a lot of the champions are going to stay where they're at. I don't see Jacob Fatu leaving SmackDown or anything else like that. But we'll see if that does happen. I haven't really got any word as far as, WWE putting a draft together. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, SmackDown wasn't terrible. Do I think it was better than Raw after Mania? No. Raw after Mania was definitely, Christ, man. I mean, for what it's worth, I think Raw after Mania was better than Night 1 and almost Night 2 of WrestleMania this year, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of storylines on Night 1 or the Raw after Mania, and then we get that closing angle there with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker with this new possible faction, this new Dangerous Alliance 2.0. So, Raw right now, Raw is cooking, man. They are cooking with gas at this point. And SmackDown, they're trying to play catch up. We're going to see what happens. I mean, the thing of it is, too, like, we haven't really heard much from Cody Rhodes. Really nothing from Cody Rhodes after what happened at WrestleMania with him and John Cena. I think he took some time off. Hopefully we see Cody Rhodes here maybe this week or maybe the following week or something to kind of get a rebuttal from what his mindset was after the match he had with John at WrestleMania. I do think Cody Rhodes will chase John Cena for the world title. I don't see it being that Cody Rhodes will never get another title opportunity again. I don't see that. But it's very telling, man. I mean, if you look at the narrative too, I mean, even if we're looking at Backlash, I mean, there's 3 matches possibly they can book for Backlash that will be absolutely incredible matches. You're looking at John Cena versus Randy Orton for the Universal title. You're looking at a fatal 4-way here with Jacob Fatu, Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre, which would be an absolutely awesome match. And then the possibility, especially what happened after Monday Night Raw went off the air, a possible tag team matchup here with Braun Breaker teaming up with Seth Rollins to take on CM Punk and Roman Reigns, which also might possibly happen at this year's Backlash. So you got 3 premier matches that could possibly take place here at this year's Backlash in St. Louis, which I'm all for. Those 3 matches are going to be incredible. And hopefully they pull, hopefully it's on the card. Hopefully they pull it together and they put it on Backlash, because those are 3 top matches for this year's Backlash if they decide to go that route. So, I don't know, man. I think SmackDown, the thing with SmackDown for me that's always been an issue as of late with SmackDown is SmackDown being 3 hours. I think that's way too much time for SmackDown, to be honest with you. I think SmackDown should have just stayed 2 hours, and they should have just left it at bay of what it was. I think trying to fill 3 hours on a SmackDown for them is kind of brutal, considering the fact that Raw is also 3 hours, or close to 3 hours, every Monday night. But I think Monday night has more of a, obviously Raw is their A show, SmackDown is their B show, but I feel like they put a little bit more life into Raw than they do SmackDown, creatively, in my honest opinion. So SmackDown kind of takes a back seat to a lot of things that Monday Night Raw do. But it's not like they don't have the roster on SmackDown. I mean, they got Roman Reigns, they got Aleister Black now, they got, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, John Cena is also, a part of SmackDown as well. So it's not like they don't have the roster. Randy Orton, Kevin Owens once he gets, healthy. So we'll see what happens, man. I mean, obviously, like I said, it's pretty much a reset button for them. Obviously, after WrestleMania, it's pretty much the start of the new calendar year, if you will, for WWE after WrestleMania. So we'll see how things play out. I think Backlash is going to be really good this year. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I would have to say, as far as SmackDown is concerned, the 2 main vocal points for me would have to be the return of Aleister Black. A lot of people were anticipating the return for Aleister Black. And the main event, that TLC match between the Motor City Machine Guns, the Street Profits, and DIY, that was an incredible match. One of the best TLC matches I've seen in quite some time. And it really does show. I mean, if you're a person or a person that's watching the product and saying, oh man, their tag team division on Raw and SmackDown is shit, I don't see how you can say that, considering what we saw on Friday night in that main event. The Motor City Machine Guns are a really good tag team. Street Profits are great. They're severely underrated. And then we get DIY with Gargano and Ciampa, which, again, you can also say that they're partially underrated. So it's a phenomenal tag team division, I think, to be honest with you. I mean, could it be better? Sure, it could be a lot better. But they're adding small pieces to that tag team division. We also got the addition of Fraxium, who debuted on SmackDown as well. So, I mean, sky's the limit, man, honestly, for SmackDown. It's only, the way I look at it, SmackDown can only slow themselves down at this point. So we're going to see what happens. Obviously there's going to be some, build and some storylines leading up to this year's Backlash. So hopefully, things pan out for SmackDown. But do I think it was better than the Raw after Mania? No, absolutely not. But with that being said, this is my review of Friday Night SmackDown. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic.